My name is Bummi Anderson. I am a author, writer. I do consider myself a poet, and I will be publishing soon a next book of poetry. I am not a spoken word artist. I am a poet, so I'm not going to do any type of dramatic inflections or anything like that. I just like to read my poetry. Gumbo book of poetry is my latest book of poetry that I think I published last year, and I enjoyed writing it. It was a challenge. In some instances it was. In this book I tried to incorporate various forms of poetry. The only forms I did not do is the sonnet, because sonnets are excruciating, very difficult to write, and because I keep a haircut, it wasn't good to do a sonnet because I want to keep the hair that I have. So I did not include a sonnet in this book, but maybe next one I'll do that. This book actually encompasses all kinds of themes, love, relationships, family. I am a African American history buff, so a lot of my poems are Afrocentric, and so I want to share just a few of them with you. The first poem I want to share is a very special poem because this poem is actually several years old. I included it in this book. Before I read this poem, I want to give you a little background of the maternal side of my family. I have a twin sister, and Phoebe, she's here. And my mother has a large number of brothers and sisters, like 15. And out of those 15 children, there are 3 sets of twins. So my grandmother, my mother's mother, and her father had 3 sets of twins, back to back to back. So in a period of 3 to 4 years, they had 3 sets of twins. So my mother, who's not a twin, she found out in the birthing room that she was having girls, twins. Before that, her and my father were told they were going to have a big boy. Because the heartbeat of the baby was so strong. Well, the heartbeat was strong because there were 2 heartbeats, but they were in sync, so they did not know that they were having twins. So my mother finds out. When I come out, she discovers, okay, it's a girl, and then the doctor says, here's another one. So this poem is entitled "Live from Mama's Belly," and I wrote it in terms of if my sister and I were in there. How can I see inside the womb? I don't know if I have enough room to move, to be, to create. All I know, it is dark in here. No light, no sight, no switch to flicker with. Just darkness and me, looking at one another, wanting light to rescue one from the other. Live from Mama's belly. And you know the proper way to applaud is thank you. One of the things about this book that I actually made a conscious effort to do is to share a lot of haikus, which I really love to write. I wrote a poem about my mother and my father. They were both haikus, and then someone approached me and said, "Your mother's poem only has like 3 lines." And my mother was like, "Why is my poem so short?" So I said, Mother, it's a haiku, and I went on to explain to her the haiku. I said, so actually it's very difficult to write, So you should feel, great that it was difficult. So look at it from that perspective. And so she felt a little better. This poem was entitled Mama. Roses always bloom, even when my heart is gloom. She loves me with all. Mama. Thank you. And I wrote a poem about my father. The one thing I remember, my dad, he lives with my sister and I. But one of the things I remember about him growing up was he had these huge hands. And I have a very good memory of them, both seeing them coming at me. So he has very huge hands. And so I wrote about my dad. It's called Daddy. Hands of this man big. I knew not one hiding place but his protection. That's another haiku, Daddy. And please feel free. Like I said, in this book, there are several themes that I tried to capture. One of them, I have my godmother is whom I feel like is very weird, because whenever I tell this story, people always say, well, how is she your godmother? But our godmother, my twin and I, our godmother, was out of our lives for like 35 years. She was out of our life. So in the last 3 to 4 years, we've reconnected, and I spent a tremendous amount of time in Atlanta visiting her. And so I wrote a poem about that, getting to know her, going back into a relationship with her. But this poem is not a haiku. It is, I didn't do a haiku for her, but it's called Godmother. And these, I'm trying to read theme-based, family-based poetry, because sometimes too, you keep in mind when you're talking about family, there are friends who are closer to us than family members. So I also look at those relationships that are not blood related, can be family also. So this poem is entitled Godmother. When we talk, it feels as if time stands still. I forget the earth is revolving around the sun. And since I don't feel it anyway, it makes sense to just enjoy the ride. I glean from you as a garden. On any given day, I just might pull up a chair, sip a glass of lemonade, facing the sun, watching you like spring's return. The return is life for me, another reason for me to blossom. I noticed something wonderful. You never left. I just came to meet you, and the trip has been worth the wait. Godmother. Thank you. I also wanted to do a love poem. Someone asked me, are you gonna do a love poem, Flooded? Yes, I guess. So this poem, if you use this poem with someone that you love, they may become family. They may want to marry you after this. If you use this poem. It is called Flooded. My head is flooded with thoughts of you. No life jacket, no preserver. You won't jump in and save me, and you see me going under? Would you save me if you knew I loved you? Give me your hand, perform mouth-to-mouth resuscitation so I can breathe again, and all those thoughts of you gush out of me. I am revived. Flooded. Thank you. The next poem I would like to share with you is called Friendship. Because as I said earlier, we have friends that are like sisters to us, brothers, real blood brothers, blood sisters. And so this poem is entitled Friendship. Friendship strong, bonded, enduring, trusting, healing, stretching beyond normal, loving above fault, caring, sharpening, comforting, beautiful, unique, sibling, friendship. And there's a poem I have, a haiku called God's Love. Your love forever finds me in deep, dark places, saves me from myself. God's love. Let's see. I left off a poem that I wanted to share with you. A poem I wrote to Maya Angelou. Now, Maya Angelou is like family to me. Now, I never met her before, but, I do consider her like the grandmother I wish if I could have a, grandmother, she would be it. Maya Angelou. She's a great inspiration to me. And I thought I had marked it in my book, but I don't see it. Maybe I'll find it, and I'll try to come back to it. I would like to read that poem. There's a poem I have called Sister to Sister. This poem is actually years old also. So it was written, it is a African American centered poem, and it's called Sisters, Sister to Sister. And in this poem, I'm talking to African American sisters, and I invoke names of most of the people in this poem are famous, although I will call them by their first name. So if you don't, you may not know who I'm referring to. It's called Sister to Sister. I was born to tell you, my sister, that my love for you flows like the waters of the Nile. And what life and spirit that comes from me is for you and the gifts you have given to the world. You are as the full moon, giving light in deep darkness. When life is without form and void, you come like the Spirit of God, saying, let there be light. You are Ruth, Naomi, and Mary. You are my sister. You are the hope that God's blessings have given. Your sweet and gentle nature is the scaffold that shall become the peace of the earth. You are my Africa in America, beautiful and strong. You are Nefertiti, Cleopatra, and the Queen of Sheba. You are my sister. You are the first history book, speaking to the greatness of the struggle of the slave and the free. A queen before the captivity. Despite the rugged path and dark night, you are like the North Star, guiding us into what we can become. You are Harriet, Sojourner, and Fannie Lou. You are my sister. You are the architect of the greatest survival, the painter whose brush creates a joy unspeakable into the hearts of our people. Every stroke is a symbol of justice. Every word is a vessel of freedom. You are Maya, Sonia, and Nikki. You are my sister. You breathe your spirit into me, and I rejoice from the depths of my soul. Africa is embedded in your very nature, and she comes into existence through your nurture and grace. You are a symbol of my heritage, a star that guides. You are Angela, Bernice, and Betty. You are my sister. You are the mother of the earth, the mother of Jesus, or of Moses and Muhammad. An African queen you are. I know you. I know myself. You are a woman, beautiful, black. I am. Sister to sister. I really wish I could find it. Angelo poem. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Shane. Page 30. because this is one of my favorite poems, Maya Angelou. I have a deep affection for Maya Angelou. And of course, the day she died, people were texting me and calling me as if, I knew her. They wanted to know, are you okay? And so I wrote a poem because I was at work, actually, and I was just, I love the news, so I keep alerts, and when breaking news happens, I usually know about it. And I was at my desk at work, and at the time, actually, I was working for Liberty House of Albany, which is we're advocates for domestic violence victims. So I just got into work, and I was there, and I was sitting there, and I got an alert on my phone from CNN saying breaking news, Maya Angelou has passed. And immediately I just started to cry because I just felt the loss like immediately. And so I was sitting there just thinking about all the things I had learned from her and from afar, and all of the poetry, and just all of the wisdom. I had the opportunity to actually go and hear her like a year before she passed at Florida State. And so a friend of mine who is the head of security there, the police at Florida State, he got my sister and I front row seats. So we were there around the front row to be able to hear her. And so that was the second time actually I had the opportunity to hear her. So I wrote a poem called The Day You Left, because I was just so overwhelmed, and I called one of my former high school teachers that I could talk to, and I just was crying like a baby, and she was like, oh, it's going, she really was encouraging me, and she understood how I felt because she knew how much I loved Dr. Angelou. So this poem was entitled The Day You Left for Maya Angelou. I cried. I didn't know what else to do. I prayed. I had nowhere else to go. I texted those I love. I had no one else to understand me. I rejoiced. You became an even bigger part of me. I wrote a poem. This is what I was born to do. The Day You Left. One of the things that I don't want to predate to let you know how old I am, but I'm up there. I know I don't look it, but I'm not like real young. My sister's shaking her head saying, please do not say, because normally I do tell people how old we are, and she, so I won't insult you today. One of the things I remember growing up, I can't even tell you when I was born. I'll just say in the 70s. You could determine when I was early or late 70s or mid 70s. But growing up in the 70s, one of the things that I remember, and I've noticed when we're talking about family, I've noticed that in the African American culture, we use the terms, especially when we were growing up, when I was growing up, everybody was your brother, your sister. Hey brother, hey sister. Some of you probably remember that. But you don't hear that anymore unless you go to church, and you might hear it. But that was just a cultural thing for us. I can remember my parents' friends, whenever they saw their friends, they would always greet each other with the brother, this is my brother, or hey brother, or hey sister. Another one of the words they would use is, what's up, blood? As a connection to some type of family. It was just that sense of family. You don't hear that anymore. But one of my poems I wrote was called Brothers and Sisters. Brothers, be better being, not banging. Battles are won with the ballot, not the bullet. Listen, look, let love's light lift you. Sister, sing songs, smooth sounds symbolic of names that are yours. Listen, look, let love's light lift you. Together, time touches tempers and cools consciousness. Wrap each other in one another and let love's light lift us. That's Brothers and Sisters. And And I think that was all that I marked. I believe so. Do I have time for one more? No? Yes? Okay. I had one that I wanted to do. It'll probably take me the entire time to find it. But I don't have it marked. But here's one for and someone asked me yesterday, I think I mentioned Shirley Sherrod, and I mentioned her as Shirley, and someone said, you know her like, know her like that? I said, yeah, that's kind of like, she's known me since I was in my mama's belly. But I wrote a poem in this book for Charles Sherrod, which is one of my, but they both are very good friends of my parents. And I've always admired Charles Sherrod and Shirley, but Charles because of his great work in the civil rights movement. So this poem is called Warriors, and it's for Charles Sherrod. Standing on the shoulders of men, we dare not sit unless to bend, and listen as the elders speak, to ensure future days not bleak. Standing on the shoulders of women, not to repeat history again, but their lessons we humbly keep, to ensure the future days not bleak. Elders, we call out to you first, since you have seen the days of thirst. It is your knowledge that we seek, to ensure future days not bleak. Warriors, cast your spears into our hands. Where you fight, your legacy stands. Our fight for justice, strong, not weak, to ensure future days not bleak. Warriors, for Charles Sherrod.